math education. People call us IISME for short. I'm going to preface this talk with a couple of little caveats. My co-presenter was unable to attend, so I'm going to try to show you a video in lieu of having a teacher actually present to you, and I'm sorry that I have to do that. And the other thing, just a warning, I have an allergy to ginger. I know it sounds a little crazy, but I unfortunately had some ginger last night, which ramps me up, like it makes me crazy, and I'm from New York, so that combination, so if I talk too fast, somebody has to tell me. It could get bad. I'll just preface there, I haven't slept yet. It usually takes about 72 hours once I get ginger in my system. So if I make no sense or if I'm talking too fast, please just holler. All right, so this is an exciting program I'm going to share with you today. I don't know how many people have heard of us before. How many people know about the Summer Fellowship Program? Okay, excellent. Well, you can ask me anything you want today. Please interrupt. Feel free to ask questions that you've had or are brewing on or are concerned about. But the Summer Fellowship Program is a very unique program. We've been around for 30 years, and we provide paid professional development for educators over the summer. So I'm going to spend some time really talking about the Summer Fellowship Program today. So this sort of came about because as teachers, and I was in the classroom for over a decade in New York City, as teachers we hear these questions quite a lot. These are the kinds of questions that get difficult to answer for educators who have been in their classrooms their whole career. They love and are committed and care about education, and they get these questions and they haven't had the experience outside of the classroom to really look at the applications of what they're teaching and why these things are so critical. So IISME Summer Fellowship Program was born. So we tried to look at how to address these questions. What math is being used that's going to be useful for those kids? What math is being taught that the kids are going to need when they enter the workforce themselves? What technologies are most critical? What science and research is most critical out in the world, and especially here in the Valley that changes so fast? So the purpose, we were actually founded back in 1985. I have actually been with IISME for 14 years. I really care deeply about the program. It came about from a number of corporate folks and leaders coming together and seeing kind of a lack of STEM knowledge in the people they were trying to hire into their companies. And now this was 30 years ago, so this problem has been pervasive over time. There are incredible educators out there doing incredible work, and we're still finding some gaps in the kind of knowledge that the kids are coming out of school with in the STEM fields. So in 1985, these people came together with some folks from the Lawrence Hall of Science and decided to create the Summer Fellowship Program for educators. Their thinking was that teachers were the complete change makers. They were the ones that could really impact the students most directly, and by offering opportunities for teachers to learn and to improve their own education in their own classrooms, they would really bring some new and exciting opportunities for those kids in the classrooms as well. So looking at teachers to be change agents at that time, 30 years ago, was a big deal. It was new in the Valley, it was new in STEM education, and at that time STEM education was fairly a new concept. But we have been able to move the program over the last 30 years and consistently be available in the Valley through all that time as a nonprofit, which is also a pretty powerful statement of the impact. So what exactly is this thing I'm talking about? So what we do, most people, when I first say $8,200 to people, they say, I have to pay $8,200 to do this crazy thing? But no. What happens is we pay teachers to work for 8 weeks at a company. And so on the blue handout that I gave you, if you turn to the back of it, and I'll have a list up in a minute as well, those are all the companies that have hosted teachers just in the last year. What happens is all of those companies define projects that they deem 8 weeks in length, that they want to hire somebody to complete. And instead of hiring a contractor or an engineer, they work with us to hire an educator. So part of that 8 week is considered a ramp-up time for the teacher. It's to get the teacher on track with what the project needs, what information the teacher needs to give, and then the teacher completes the project over those 8 weeks. So this is exciting because as an educator going into a brand new community like at Google or Intel or Applied Materials or Genentech or even in the science labs at Stanford University, those are probably new to most of our teachers. Now I know some of you had careers in industry before teaching, yes, but even if you've been out of that for just even a few years, it's so dramatically different that just getting back in there, even for a refresher of 8 weeks, makes a huge difference. That's what we've been told by our educators. So You go in, you get to be immersed in the culture of that organization. You get to learn from the people that you're working with. You're mentored by somebody in the organization itself, like an Intel employee will come work with you directly and try to help you get up to speed, get your project completed, and support you throughout that time. And it is an 8-week full-time job, essentially, over the summer. There's flexibility in start and end dates. There's flexibility in start and end time, all of that. But it is generally like having a full-time job, except it's very different than being in the classroom. How many people have been outside the classroom in industry and such? Okay, so many of you. So you know. For a lot of our teachers, it's like this brand new, eye-opening experience. The idea of the 21st century skills that get explored being in an industry setting. Teamwork, how critical that is. The types of knowledge that seem more critical than you realize as an educator when you're in your classroom. So you work for 8 weeks, 90% of your paid time, so it's an $8,200 stipend, and 90% of your paid time is to work directly on the project for the host organization. All of that funding comes from the organization that's hosting you. So they are in it to get into helping education. They are there for the right mission, philanthropic reasons that we hear about. That really happens from these companies, which is amazing. 10% of the paid time that you take over the summer is dedicated to developing curriculum based on what you're learning and experiencing and integrating that back into your classroom in the fall. So I don't know about you, but when I was teaching in New York City, I did not get paid to develop curriculum. I did not get paid time to ever do that. I worked 90 hours a week as a psychotic high school teacher in New York City. I was wholly committed to my kids. I wanted every day to be exciting. That's who I was. To give teachers some time to really reflect on what they're learning, what they're seeing, how this could impact their students, how this might integrate in a lesson you already have into something you're excited about. I don't know how many of you are high school teachers. How many are high school? Should have asked that. Community college for the most part? Okay, so when I talked to James, he's like, there'll be plenty of high school teachers. He's telling me to be. So we don't work with them. We do work with community college teachers. It's like, come present them. I'm kind of sick of them. We do work with plenty of community college teachers, yeah. That was funny though. How many high schools? Not many of you.
When you say come back and develop curriculum, as I remember, developing curriculum in one semester time is not possible.
You're not developing an entire year's worth of curriculum. You're looking at integrating ideas into lessons that you already have.
Oh.
So some of it is about 21st century skill building. Some of it is about the actual technology you're utilizing at your fellowship. Some of it is about team meetings that you see witness at the it just depends on you as the person and what you bring from that into your classroom. And the curriculum is just a tiny piece of what you'll go back with, if that makes sense. There's so much more power to it than I can express in terms of curriculum. So taking a teacher, immersing them at Google, seeing the success at Google that each person can have. Usually our teachers blow away the mentors, the companies, and they want to hire you, and we don't. It goes against our mission. But giving that opportunity to educators is so powerful. And then when you're talking to, students about what you've done, about the work that you've done, as college teachers, that's even more credibility to yourself.
Yeah.
You're bringing that into your lives as an educator. So the reason I asked about high school is I was going to talk about Common Core Next Generation. But
I represent high school.
Awesome. Okay.
I want to hear it.
Nice. Okay. I'll just so Common Core Next Generation, the biggest component, one of the biggest components of both is talking about real world integration into curriculum and having the applications and coming up with something that's going to excite kids. So one of the things we stress over the course of the summer is how are you integrating those concepts into your curriculum as well. So some people take the curriculum component as, one lesson, 3 days, and this is really what it impacted the most. And other people say, wow, these ideas are going to stem throughout my whole semester or my whole quarter or whatever your system is on. So all of that is up to you. And then throughout the summer, you're working with other educators too. So you're partnered with a coach who helps with the curriculum piece. You're partnered with a company mentor who helps with the company piece. And then a lot of our companies take several teachers under their wings, and you meet with them as a group over the course of the summer, share ideas, share curriculum, share thoughts. Our community college component is about 11%, I think, of our fellows last year, so it's not our biggest chunk. But that being said, we would try to bring you together as a group we have some large meetings over the course of the summer so that you could really work together. We try to partner people across disciplines. You're all going to be in technology probably, because I know where I am now. But you know, we try to bridge the right people together so that you have people to talk to. Because I know for me, when I was in the classroom, it's very isolated sometimes, and in some schools, and it could be very different where you are. But as educators, we don't always get the opportunity to work with other educators, especially in our own fields. And so this has been one of the nicest outgrowths of the program. And our teachers usually stay in touch following the program as well. So the question I often get is, why do companies do this? We're a nonprofit. Our companies who host the teachers pay for pretty much everything that we do. And why do they do this? Well, that statement says it all. I hate reading from slides, but empowering a STEM literate community is kind of what's happening. Our companies are recognizing the need. They want to help educators. They think, how can I help educators? Well, one way I can do this is to empower them and bring them in and show them what we're doing so that they can tell the kids what we're doing. And the kids can learn it and get excited about it and eventually come work for us. So it's sort of selfish, but it's the way it has to be. So it starts with the company. They pay for everything. They hire you as educators to come in and work for them. They are assuming and hoping that that knowledge about their company, about their work, about what you learned is going to transfer down to the students, which of course is going to impact the full community. And that, of course, brings it down to things. So that's why they get involved. Yes?
Do most companies commit to doing more than one teacher per?
It depends. If it's a large company, yes. For instance, Lockheed Martin. See, Lockheed is special because they have to hire U.S. citizens. They really feel a local crunch to help STEM education. They're different than Google. Google looks at me and they're like, everybody wants to work here. Everybody we can hire from anywhere in the world, and we're fine. We don't worry as much about local education. Whereas Lockheed is really looking for local people. They try to hire locally, and they try to hire really strong STEM people. So they have hosted teachers every year in our 30 years. They actually hit 400 teachers last summer. We're going to be hosting our 31st summer this coming year, and they're taking 26 teachers this year. Right? Synopsys takes 12 or 13 almost every year. Stanford Research Labs takes about 18 to 20. That's a separate funding like the RET, the Research Experience for Teachers, is an NSF funded grant for universities. So UC Berkeley, Stanford, Santa Clara, all of those guys take teachers into their science research labs. So it depends what you're interested in learning too. But the companies, the smaller companies take one. You know, but it's exciting. You get one, and then we bring those teachers together in a group outside of their companies. We always geographically group people as well. Am I talking too fast? Everybody's
Right. All right, right here.
My East Coast is shining through. I don't know if it's Virginia or New York. It's hard to know. So who hosts? Oh, that's pretty. So that's the first half. It is also on the back of your flyer, but it's important to sort of see. So we currently have fellows in 11 counties across the state of California, and we're always looking to grow. So right now we're in 8 Bay Area counties. We're in 3 Southern California counties. LA, San Diego, and Orange County is kind of where we're trying to muster strength. We also have a pilot going on in Sacramento. So we're trying to continue to grow across the state. Yes.
So you actually go out there, invite or coerce the employers?
Of course. Yes. Yes. We go out, and we're always looking for new companies. So we're open to anything. But we go out and we try to talk to as many companies as we can. I will say we are a staff of 4 right now. So we work incredibly hard. We are a $3 million nonprofit. We have over 50 companies that sponsor teachers. We host between 150 and 200 teachers every summer. So it's a huge job. But we really go from company to company to company and try to appeal to their philanthropic education support arms.
Can we recommend some of the companies that we used to know?
Absolutely. And if you know somebody in them, even better.
Okay.
But I'll go anywhere and talk to anybody. That's sort of what I do. That's how it works. Nonprofit, we're all, yeah. So this is the first half. These are incredible companies. They really do care about the mission of the program. What's also nice about these companies is that once they get to know educators in schools, they end up, contributing more and more to the local schools. So, if you were to work there and you get to a relationship with them, they can come to your school, they can talk to your students, they can support the school, financially. There's a lot of things that happen as a result. That's not a formal part of our program, but kind of an informal outgrowth of our program. This is the second half. It just gives you a sense of where we are. We had some exciting new ones last year. I guess I should have mentioned that. Like the Tech Museum was new to us. They're actually nonprofit, but we got a for-profit company to fund a fellowship there, so that was pretty exciting. So that's another option that we do. RAF, do you know RAF, Resource Area for Teaching? That's a younger grade thing usually. I think they're this amazing nonprofit, and we've gotten people to fund them as well.
Synopsis, you had mentioned them.
Synopsis is a software company. They usually take 13 or so fellows under their wings each year. We have a really nice partnership with them, and we have for years. They do a lot of QA, I think, kind of work. The teachers work in that field with them. So I'll talk a little bit about the application process and how that all works in a bit. Okay, so I was supposed to have a teacher here presenting, and that didn't happen. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about a teacher, and I'm sorry that you don't get to hear from one first rate, but you'll get to see a video, if I can get that to work. Do you guys know Jeff Larson? Because he's a big in this impact community. Yeah, he's amazing. He presented with me at this conference a couple years ago. He's been a fellow a few times. On the last two, he was at Adobe, right here in San Francisco, actually. He was working on Adobe Youth Voices. Do you know that piece of Adobe? That's kind of their philanthropic. They help kids get engaged and excited about portfolios and building digital projects and all that kind of stuff. So he actually was hired by Adobe for 2 summers, developed curriculum for Adobe Youth Voices, worked on their website launches, worked on launching this whole Adobe Essentials thing that you may have heard of that as an educator. And he organized the Lead Educator Summit. So that was all work he did for Adobe as an IISME fellow. So he had this incredible opportunity. And then his curriculum that he developed was e-portfolios and digital publishing. So what we've done, these are just 2 to 3 minutes long. I thought I'd show you a couple just so you could really see what's happening in the classrooms as a result of this experience. Let's see if I can get it to work though. We put together these little videos. The teacher talks about their experience, and then you see them in the classroom a bit, and you get to hear from some of the students. So this is a high school teacher.
I teach at Balboa High School in San Francisco Unified School District. Both of the animation sections that I teach are part of the CAST Academy, which is a CTE career tech-related program funded through California Partnerships Academies. The ETP that I was fortunate enough to develop last summer while working at Adobe and with IISME was focused on digital publishing to tablets, but specifically this case an iPad. My ETP relates to my fellowship experience in that I was working primarily at Adobe with Adobe Youth Voices, and having been doing Adobe Youth Voices projects, I was kind of really interested in the idea of creating a new format. I always kind of focused on video or animation, some graphic design, and so this was a chance to try a new medium.
The final product we're heading for is a digital magazine which will be published using Adobe InDesign and will be readily accessed from iPads. My video was about recycling. It's called Re-energizing Recycle. So it's about upcycling things. My digital publication is to sort of show the process of how I created animation, give people the behind-the-scenes look at the process of making video.
Well, I'm an entering design student. I'm interested in transportation and industrial design. So this is all things that I know I'll be encountering a lot later on. I learned a lot about figuring out how to use these programs to help me and get my message across strongly so that I could help others.
I've also learned about how the industry works, how people have sound to things, how people animate. I mean, most kids don't get to learn how to make animation like we do. They usually don't go into After Effects or Premiere or Flash. That's really cool about this program.
My IISME fellowship experiences have boosted my ability to step up, from like presenting at conferences and workshops and really pushing myself to be more of a public advocate for different aspects of education and technology and the arts.
Okay, so that's just one example. So Jeff's a rock star, but to be honest, I've been doing this for 14 years. I could put one of any, 1,100 different teachers up there, and the experience would be exciting for their students and for the teacher themselves. So that is just tries to tie together how it works. So some people have a hard time seeing the fellowship and the classroom all together. So we put together these little tidbits. There's a bunch of them on our website if you want to watch more. I have more here, but I'm thinking we should use the time for questions and things rather than a lot of videos, unless those are super intriguing to you. You could tell me if you want to see those. Nobody cares. Okay. So one of the things that I get asked about the most is how the connections are made. People are nervous. So I'm going into applied materials, and I'm working on their intranet over the summer for 8 weeks. And I'm learning some new language I've never learned before. And I don't necessarily get to teach that language in the classroom. I don't get the connection. And so it's tough at times. There's no lying about that. But the truth is that when we bring our coaching staff together, when we bring our teachers together, and you start talking about all that you're learning and seeing, we can always find a way to bring the ideas back to your classroom. So when you're looking at a fellowship opportunity, I don't want you, if you decide to apply and you're looking at a fellowship opportunity, I shouldn't jump the gun. You should all apply. It's phenomenal. But when you're looking, I don't want you to get hung up on that, because you can always find a way to transfer what you're about to learn back into your classroom. So Blanca is another really strong example. She's actually a middle school computer programming science teacher. She actually just became a principal, so she's shifted. But she was at Lockheed last year. She got to test satellite software. She worked directly with the engineers. She learned so much, and she raved about the program. She has spoken with me at other conferences as well. And she went and taught our middle school students computer programming. She's one of the real go-getters in the world. You know, she developed a whole curriculum based on her fellowship experience, which is not what we're expecting everybody to do. But that was her experience. And her video, although it's here, can also be found on our website, so I'll let you guys search that out. And then another example, Rob Alexander is an engineering and industrial arts middle school teacher. He was at Fujifilm the last 2 years. What he was working on was a shift-to-shift transfer of knowledge. So he's working at Fuji, and he was supposed to figure out ways for the engineers to communicate when they were working on different shifts. They were having a really hard time at Fujifilm getting the engineers to communicate, which is an interesting concept. A lot of our teachers come in and help with communication. That seems to be a pretty common thread. But they couldn't figure out how to get the information from one shift to the next without losing the details, without things just falling through the cracks. And so his job was to look and observe that process and try to help figure out ways to pass that information along. So that was his fellowship. And then what he did was he was teaching the same class a couple times over the course of the day. And the kids from one class had to pick up where the kids from the other class left off. So the kids had to figure out how to communicate. So he took what he was doing at Fuji and created a curriculum teaching kids about communication when the other kids weren't present. So how do you get across where you are in the lesson, what you've learned, you know, what's the best way to communicate all of that? So that's just another example. His video is cool too. So you should take a look at those if you're interested. All right. So this is another question I get. Maybe it's community college teachers. You all teach during the summer anyway. No? Okay. No, you get that quarter off. Okay, good. So one person once said to me, why would I work over the summer when I can be sitting on a beach in Hawaii with a Mai Tai? And I was like, that is a very hard question to answer. But you get all of this. So like I said, I've been with IISME for 14 years. We've been around for 30. These were the numbers just from last year. This is consistent. Every year I'm in the program, and that's not because of me. Every year I've been in the program, I should say. This is how teachers view the experience. This comes directly from them. So they're excited about what they're learning. They're excited about what they're integrating. They're excited about what they come away with. They feel refreshed going back into the classroom. They share with other teachers. They continue to communicate with the teachers they worked with over the summer. They often have relationships with the mentors. So all of this is happening. So is it worth trying for one summer? I say to people, yes. I think it really is. It's an exciting opportunity for educators. And I think it's important. So more perks. So the professional growth, I think I've made pretty clear, right? You're getting the experience out in the workforce. You're seeing that. You're bringing that knowledge back to your students. It's growing you as an educator. You're seeing the applications of what you're teaching hands-on. You get to really get immersed in that culture. You get to bring all of those concepts and ideas back. When you're going back to school, you have authentic stories, very important. Also, most of our teachers learn all sorts of new technologies. Some of you are stronger, obviously, than others when we hire fellows, but our companies look for all different levels of skills, and on our application there is a very hefty skills page outlining all sorts of computer skills that our companies are looking for. So there could be some companies coming in looking for very high-level computer technology skilled teachers, and some that are just saying if they know how to use Word, we're good to go. Just depends on the fellowship. But most of our teachers come away with new technologies and how to integrate those into the classroom. Huge networking possibilities, not only with other teachers, but with the companies and the mentors as well. Again, support from other teachers around development curriculum, integrating standards different for you guys, I get it. And then the host organization, so many resources. I'll just give you one example because I can't help myself. We had a teacher at Lockheed who made a passing comment to a VP at Lockheed how she just would kill for laptops for her classroom. And he came to her the next day and he said, how many do you need? And she was like, what? And he gave her like 40 laptops, you know, with the cart and everything, you know, as a donation from Lockheed. So there's a lot of money in companies and not as much in education. You're probably aware of that? I don't know if this is new to you. Come on. But what's so cool is that they really want to help, and a lot of companies, a lot of people within the companies don't know how. So by bringing educators into their walls, by bringing you guys into their space, they can get connected and learn more about what's happening, how they might be able to support educators, and what you really need in the classroom. Right? So that's a pretty critical part of the program. It's not why we started, but it's something that has become a very powerful piece. And then, of course, there's compensation. The next slide outlines the money for real, so I won't talk about it too much. But the overall stipend is $8,200. And then we also offer development hours, so professional development and university course credit. Some people need that to move up on pay scales. I don't know how the community college system works. I'm sorry, I work more with high school. But we offer those as well as part of the program. So you don't just get paid, you can also apply for credits as well. So the pay, because this is what I get asked about too. So yeah, teachers also don't get paid enough in general, my own personal feeling. And we live in the most expensive place on the planet. I thought New York City, when I left that, I'd be better off. So I know this is not a ton of money, but it is something we can say. We do get to pay our teachers for their work, which is lovely. It's 8 weeks at $7,200. So if you really work that out per hour, it's $22.50. I'll do it for you because some of you are going to do the math anyway. And that sounds really crappy, I know. But you're learning, and you're immersed in a new setting, and you're working for a company, and you're not an engineer necessarily. Maybe some of you are trained, but you haven't been. So you get to learn and experience and immerse and work with other teachers and all of those good things, and you get paid on top of it. So I know it's not a ton of money, but it's nice anyway. So that's $7,200, guaranteed to everybody who has a fellowship. We also give $1,000 in grants for the EPP, is what people were referring to in the video, the Education Transfer Plan. It's a curriculum I've been mentioning. When you complete the curriculum, which you're actually getting paid time to do already, you get an additional $1,000 grant. And that's to assure that we have something to show our sponsors, right? So we, as a nonprofit, we're going out there, like you said, what was the word? Selling myself, but I was better than that. Coercing. Sounds bad. Coercing companies to participate. They're doing it because they want to know that things are being given back to the kids. We need to show them that yes, the curriculum is happening. So we tie grant money to that to make sure we get the curriculum from our fellows. So all of that is guaranteed, $8,200, as long as we complete the requirements of the fellowship, which we bug you about endlessly over the course of the summer because we want to make sure everybody succeeds. And then the only part that's competitive is an additional $1,000 grant, and that is for anything you might need in your classroom. So piece of technology, piece of software, science equipment, books, anything that you need to help your classroom. It's the only piece that's competitive. But I will say that for some reason, a lot of people don't take advantage of this, and we almost always can give out to everybody who has asked for this money. So you have the opportunity to earn $9,200 just, of course, as participating in the program.
So what do we have to do to achieve that $1,000 competitive piece? Is there something, a proposal that we have to?
It is the easiest grant you will ever write, if you've ever written any grants. It's a 2-page grant, and we just ask what you need the money for, why you need it, who you're partnering with, and how you're going to implement it. So it's a pretty straightforward ask. We limit it to 2 pages because we don't want to take too much time out of anybody's life. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that we pay for all of your time. Like you come to an orientation session, we pay you to be there, You come to the midsummer meeting, we pay you to be there. You come to the party at the end, we give you wine, and we pay you. So we really believe that teachers should be treated as professionals. That's kind of how we operate. So yeah, so we don't want you to spend a lot of time on it. We just want to know that it's something that our funders would support for the classroom. And then, so what's required? Teaching anything, community college, absolutely. Employed full-time in one of our counties. Now there's the caveat here. We're always looking at new places. We're always open. We are now open to teachers. If you are willing to be in the Bay Area for the summer, I don't know where you all teach, but if we can't get a fellowship near where you are welcome to hold a fellowship in an area where we have one. We cannot provide housing. That is a question I get a lot. Unfortunately, as a nonprofit, we do not have the ability to do that. But we do our best to find fellowships where you are, and then if we can't, we invite you to come and participate where we have them. Yes, sir.
So can you do this virtually?
Usually not is the truth. Most of the companies want it to be face-to-face, especially because a big chunk of it is usually training the teacher. And they like to have the face-to-face interaction. There is occasionally an opportunity for a telecommuting fellowship, but it is not the norm. There's sometimes opportunities for part-time telecommuting. It just depends on when you're interviewing and you have the skills they want, what they're willing to do with you.
So this is the face-to-face, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day?
Yes, it is like having a full-time job, except some of that is also curriculum development time, so some people do that elsewhere. You don't need to be at the company to do that, but you have the opportunity to. Yes?
I saw on the assignment that you say principals sign endorsement.
Yes, we do department chairs usually for community college. Some administrators that can say that you'll be teaching in that university or college the next year. So I'll tell you why. So, okay, so does anybody have any other questions about location stuff? That's usually a big one. No, okay. Contract for the following year. The reason we do that is as a nonprofit with a mission to keep teachers in teaching, we don't want somebody who's already leaving the classroom to hold a fellowship. I hope that makes sense, right? We want you to be bringing everything that you're learning back to students. So we ask that you're being committed to staying in the classroom for at least the next 2 years. I'm sorry, you have 2 years teaching experience behind you. You're committed to staying in the classroom following the fellowship, and a signed endorsement from an administrator, essentially. So somebody who can say, yes, they're going to be teaching next year. I can talk to whoever you would need me to at your university. Usually at community college people, it's the department chair or department head or whatever the right title, the dean. I talk to a lot of different people about that, but it's just somebody who says, yes, we're supportive of this. We don't ever want an administrator to be annoyed that we pulled somebody out of a summer course experience. We want the support of administrators, so we do that, and then continuing to teach. Of course, you have to have a legal right and necessary documents to work in the U.S. in a non-teaching job. Some visas only support teaching positions, so we have to be a little careful there because these are not considered teaching positions. And you have to be available during normal business hours. And again, there's flexibility. I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Juan, as he mentioned earlier in an email, there was an email sent that said 8 to 5 or something every day. It was something that James, I think, sent out, and it's not really quite that rigid. I mean, the Valley is really flexible in terms of start and end times, and you would work that out with whoever you were interviewing with and working with. So the time frame, we are accepting applications right now. Everything is done online. So for lack of a better metaphor, our website is a lot like a dating site. So our teachers post applications. Yeah, right? They're like, yes, yes, no, no. It's terrible. I don't even know who knows about that anyway. It might just be you. But the way that it works is our teachers post applications, the companies post their fellowship opportunities on our website. And then you can view each other, essentially. What really happens 90% of the time is that teachers go and look at all the fellowship opportunities available. You can look by company, by date published, by subject area, all these different things. So you look at what's available, and you can, this is why I think it's like a dating site, you can express interest in a job that appeals to you. So what are you interested in learning? Are you specifically looking to work at Google, look at their opportunities only, and yes, I want to look at those. So you can express interest in the jobs that appeal to your learning for that summer. And the companies, most of the time, look solely at teachers who are interested in them, right? So we get hundreds. I mean, we probably get close to 500 applications. We only can provide about 175 fellowships in a typical year. So for the companies, they are more interested in working with a teacher who is excited about their opportunity than looking through 400 or 500 applications. So we really encourage people to express interest in the jobs. That's your best way of getting selected because it is competitive. So applications happen now. Expressing interest starts in March. Usually we get the start of the positions for the summer. You actually get interviewed by the company. They select people to interview. A lot of interviews will be over the phone because we're all over the place in the Bay Area or outside the Bay Area. Sometimes we'll require face-to-face. We'll do it outside school hours. We don't ever have them impact school. And then they hire a teacher for the summer. And actually you become an IISME employee, but you're working for that organization in most cases. And most of the placements happen in April and May. There are some companies who come to us in June. You know what, I have a project. Do you have any teachers left? And yes, we usually do. But most of it will happen by May. This year the fellowship is aimed to run the 8 weeks from June 15th to August 7th. That's also flexible. We work with, as I said, 11 counties, and school districts are very different. We try to get everybody together as much as possible to help facilitate that kind of group work, the teachers' communication with each other and all that good stuff. But that is a start and it's flexible. And then you're expected to attend certain meetings. And again, these are all paid for time, right? So the IISME orientation preps you for the experience. We can do an online version or a face-to-face. Midsummer brings everybody together to discuss curriculum development. If our geography gets too big, we have a couple instead of one place. But in some years, we can do it all in one place. End of summer, big celebration, that's the one with wine. You meet with your coaches one-on-one. You meet with your coaches in community group sessions. Community groups are multiple teachers together about 3 or 4 times over the course of the summer to get input from other teachers. And then you're developing an ETP over the course of that. That's the Education Transfer Plan, the curriculum. And that gets implemented throughout the year. And we ask you to complete about a 20-minute impact report. It's an online survey. It's just us wanting to know how things went in your classroom. And usually that's where we learn, well, you saw the stats before, but we also learn about the bigger impact, not just the curriculum. So what else happened as you returned to the classroom? What did you see in your own teaching, and how did that shift? I think that is what I've got. So, phew, I did good. Look at that, we got 10 minutes for questions. Yeah. So that's me, I'm Shari. That's my contact info. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. Yes, sir.
Ms. Shari.
Yes.
The companies on the back here.
Yes.
Are these all in Cali?
Yes.
Okay. So if there is a company that we would like to be a part of that's not in Cali,
yes.
How much lead time do you need to establish a relationship with that company? In the words of Mr. Twan here, to coerce
Of course,
that
that's
company to
They love me. It's sometimes good. It has to happen early. I mean, if we're going to shoot for this summer, I would start talking to people, by February usually, is the truth, because we have to get them to understand and buy into the program. And I'll tell you, one of the most common things I hear when I reach out to companies is, why would I hire a teacher when I can hire an intern who can then work for me? Right? And I get that. But what I say back is that a teacher's going to have a much larger impact. Right? Most of our teachers touch up to 150 students over the course of the next year. You're talking about your experience at a company. You're sharing what you learn also. So the sell isn't that easy. It takes time to sort of nurture and people to really understand why this is so great for education. And so yeah, starting as soon as possible is always my best
when the company, in the case of an intern, the company has to pay an intern.
Yes.
But your organization pays.
No, the company has to pay. Oh. No, so we're the nonprofit. That's why it's hard. That's why it's coercing. Right? Like you said. We just facilitate the process, but we're the nonprofit. The companies do pay. So they're still getting work out of the teachers. So for them, there is that benefit for them as well. But they're also impacting education in a broader way, which most companies have a philanthropic arm that they want to support education. So it's just finding the right people within the organization to participate.
And so my follow-on to that question is, we've got some of these same companies in Illinois.
Well, bring it.
Be able to,
I'd be happy to talk to people.
Then you can say, well, we work with the, Google in California or on the base.
I am happy to try. The truth is, we are so well known in the Bay Area. We are so well known in California that really helps us get into places. We have tried to pilot in other states, and we have not succeeded. It's tough. It's tough to break into a new community. But I am happy to talk to. That's what I do. I'm happy to talk to anybody. We are here to conquer the world, as we say. Any other questions?
So with the application process, is there any contact from IISME, or is it just you go on and get an email?
No, there's a lot of contact.
Okay, there is. So you would
Sorry,
get
yeah.
back to them.
We do. So I didn't talk a lot about the application. I should have. But the application process itself is like completing an online resume, essentially. It does take time the first time you do it, and then you're in our system. So this year you'd have to do it from scratch, and then if you wanted to apply again next year, it would all be there for you. So it's like completing an online resume, and there's a lot of interaction with IISME staff. So because our companies need to see applications at a certain level, and teachers haven't necessarily applied for a job in a long time, there's usually a lot of back and forth about what could be worked on, or what could be added, or I didn't mean that as insulting at all, but there's always, we're looking at 500 applications, there's always things that need to happen. And so we do a lot of back and forth, and then we do a lot of updates about the program. We have, fellowships are posted, it's time to get online, there's new stuff on. We do like Facebook, Twitter, all that crazy stuff. So if you're really into it and you really want to see everything the second it's launched, we kind of post that as we go too. Like, oh, 10 new jobs from hockey today, check it out when you can. So there's a lot of communication from us. You'll love me by the end. You're like, God. So some people that haven't met me that apply online, and I work with them throughout the year, and then they come to like orientation, like, wow, it's you. I feel like I know you. Yeah, so we're pretty present.
Okay.
Yes.
You said you have a small staff. Who are your coaches?
Our coaches it's a very good question. I hire teachers who have been in the program a number of times and have risen as leaders, strong curriculum developers, and they come on board and they coach for us. I have an incredible team of coaches. I have 8 coaches right now who I converse forever. I pay them. I pay them too, yes. And that I write grants to cover, because that's not covered.
And you're funded by the federal government, or do you get any federal
We get
funding?
no federal funding.
You get
It's about 70% funded by the companies that support us, and then 30% by additional grant funding. So I work with Berkeley, and I'm writing a huge NSF grant right now for the first time, so we'll see. But yeah, we just stomp a lot. Yes, sir.
When might you know if any opportunities will be available?
Probably in February, because we're working on that right now. So I'm kind of in discussions with about 800 companies right now. Not really in discussions, isn't really fair. I've contacted about 800 companies, but we'll see. So everything starts trickling in usually late January and early February. Yes.
I work in the Monterey County, and I was cultivating contacts with a company in my area that was for like student internships, and they had some financial downturn problems, so they had to kind of cancel that. I have a feeling companies might be interested in some of these rural areas, but they can't just sort of funding of their own.
Yeah.
Are there any suggestions for alternative sources for those we can pursue?
Yeah, so some of the grants that I'm writing right now are to supplement smaller companies who can't fund fellowships but are interested in the program. It wouldn't be funding the entire thing. I haven't been able to really successfully get any money for that, but partial funding I'm starting to see some traction in. The NSF grant I'm working on is for partial funding for a number of fellowships. So if that comes through, one of our goals is to work with companies who have been struggling and want to participate who can't. The economy drives us every year a new set of challenges. But the grants that I'm working on now are to help that, especially even here in the Valley. Some of the tech startups are really interested in bringing in educators to get their input, but they can't spend money on that. So like they got specific funding for their startup costs or whatever, and hiring an intern or a teacher doesn't really fit, but they're really interested in getting a teacher's perspective, so I'm trying to see if I can fund some of those. So I have I'm a little nutty, in a good way. But there's a lot of stuff going on, so we're trying a lot of different avenues to see what we can make happen. But that's a tough challenge. And the economy just drives it.
Interested, they could talk to you and sort of float the idea.
Yeah, we've successfully gotten funding for nonprofits. So like RAFT or the Tech Museum, possibly the Exploratoriums, they want to host teachers. They can't fund it. So I've had success there. The company is harder. Like trying to get supplemental funding for companies has been harder, but it is something we're looking at.
There were a hand.